I'd like to show you today about wildflowers in Colorado Plains. Where I live, there is this nature trail where I can go for a walk with dogs every day. And I'm amazed how much the beautiful wildflowers are blooming there. And of course, if you are wildflower lovers, you are very attentive and you pay attention to the what about the color shows up there here and there. And but if you're not interested in those things, you know it's just nature trail, wildlife, wild, you know, nature trail there, and you don't see any flowers at all. But if you pay attention to it, you see lots of beautiful flowers. And I have been posting lots of video about those wildflowers. But the reason why I do that is that the period that they bloom is so short that if I miss it, like 2 weeks, if I miss it, you completely miss it for a whole year. And so, like for example, like a Penstemon Angustifolia, it bloomed like a couple of weeks beautifully, but now, today when I went out, it's all gone. So, you know, it's very temporal and very fleeting beauty there, and that's the nature of the wildflowers. Even, you know, like a cherry blossoms and so forth, somebody blooms like a 2 weeks period of time. And so I just kept on putting a lot of the video with the same wildflowers. But yeah, I think in the beginning they start to bloom and then peak. They tremendously abundant flowers there and so forth. So I have to take a picture of those things. So like a fleeting pleasure of the peak wild nature flower. It's amazing. And mostly today, you know, I'm amazed like blue flowering flowers of the Spiderwood and blue Flax. Those two are very beautiful because it's when it's blue, it's peaks, and then it's tremendously impactful. But the other time, you know, just like I said, there's Penstemon, it's all gone. It's like a shrubble, and all flowers are the last stage of flowering. And so, yeah, it is kind of interesting to see those things. And I think you know, people say you meditate, you are mindful. That means you pay attention to this fleeting moment. You pay attention what's blooming and what's growing and what's in there and so forth without thinking anything. That particular practice, I think, fits of the wildflower enthusiast, I think I would say. And however, you know, it's very frustrating because sometimes some of the flowers are very tiny and kind of indistinguished, and it's so difficult to identify. And I actually started to do the grass identification and try to, you know, like a major, like a foxtail burley, for example, I can identify that. But other things like the Johnson's grass, and I think I'm 90% of time I'm sure, but you know, still I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, that's what it is. And today is May 29th, and already end of May, and June comes, it's like a completely different flowers shows up there, and very very pretty. So that's why I have been making lots of video about wildflowers. Okay. So this is the Dalmatian toad flax. This is like introduced and very invasive species. But when it's flower, yeah, yellow stand out and they're very pretty, So, the name of this particular flowers is toad flax. And, toad means it doesn't sound good to me. However, other names, butter and eggs and stuff. But I think it's okay. This is invasive also, but the leaves are kind of pretty, and flowers are pretty. I think it should be okay. Yeah, but that's a difficult thing that sometimes native plant lovers hate this invasive species. But yeah, I don't know. It is difficult. This is the new growth of rabbit brush, and I think that the smaller varieties of rabbit brush growing here in this area, and because it's perennial, every year it comes up very nicely, and the new leaves are very pretty. Okay, so this one, I don't know what it is, and I think I almost know what it is, but yeah, no. This is a prickly pear. The flowers hasn't come out yet, but the flowers are yellow flowers, and when you walk around this area, sometimes here and there you can see this, and then you step on it, and so it's kind of a ominous, dangerous looking plant. This is a grove marrow, scarlet grove marrow. It just about started to bloom, but always this one is this area where alongside of the nature trail where the city maintenance people spray the I think herbicide to control the growth along the nature trail, but they comes up in that particular area more often, more than anywhere else, because everything is cleared and it's very sunny, and so that's kind of interesting habitat, I would say. So yeah. So this is the spiderwood, and the spiderwood also grows in this particular area where all the herbicides are sprayed. So for some reason, I think they are underneath when they spray, maybe, and they're not affected by it, or something like that. I think in the early spring, it comes up very, very nicely. This monocot type of leaves comes up, and for a long time I was wondering what they are, but it turns out to be spiderwort, and it's very striking blue, beautiful, and I think you can grow this species, buying at the garden center, and grow in your garden, and it's still pretty. And the flowering time, I think it's longer than Penstemon, I would say. And so it's kind of nice. And but each flower, I think, just bloom just one day, I think. So it's kind of a precarious existence. in terms of flowers, but flowers comes up, every day. New flower comes up every day, and it blooms like this. So it's very pretty. And when I walk this particular nature trail, yeah, I have to admire this striking blue. Yeah, so I love this particular plant. And some spiderwood's flowers are more like a purplish, and some are bluish, but dark bluish. Some of them are lighter bluish. So it's kind of interesting to see those difference of varieties. And but I think it's seed. This is like a differently purplish here, and some of this is the bluish, and beyond that, I think that's a lighter blue there. I hope I can show you a little bit more. Yeah, this is lighter blue there. So it's color varieties. Yeah, interesting. I think the same species though. Varieties depend on the each individual. I think the colors are a little bit different. So this is the notorious bindweed, and when it's flower, that's kind of a striking, very whitish. And this is the pink varieties, and sometimes maybe 10% of it is like in this area is a pink tinge to it, but most of them are white. But both of them are kind of pretty when it's flower. But if you own the garden somewhere, and this is the enemy, you cannot get rid of it because the root system is very, very deep. And even though you try to yank it and everything, but very, very difficult to get rid of. This is a tall tumble mustard. And I think this is also invasive plant. And I thought for a long, long time, this is like after the flowers are finished, and it looks like a skeleton weed. And but I think this is for a long, long time I thought about this is the skeleton weed. This there's no leaves and just naked, just stems growing like this. But it's a tumble mustard. Very interesting, and it's tumble means like a tumbleweed type of plants. Okay, so this is a flax, and this is here Linum lewisi. Linum lewisi is a native blue flax. And I'm not sure this is the Luisi or the other one is a Pear. Pear is the not invasive, but introduced from Europe. And they are kind of very similar. I think Pear is more or less like a dark blue, I would say. So I'm not sure this one, which one that is. I think that this is a Luisi. The way the flower, I think is maybe Lucy, but I'm not sure though. Yeah. And along this highway, this is Highway 36, very, very busy highway from Boulder to Denver. And alongside is nature trails. They bloom profusely here in this area, and it's striking when you to walk along the nature trail and you see this blue hue on the field. and you kind of looked at it, and it is pretty, very very sky blue type of a color, and but only open like this in the morning time. Toward the end of the day, they just close, so it's not as impressive toward the end of the day. But if you early riser to walk this area, you will be stunned to see this color. This is also, you can plant in the garden also, and many people do that. Many people plant this blue flax as a ornamental garden flowers. And also flax seed, I think it's coming from this, I think, to use in cooking. But I'm not sure though. I'm not a culinary person. I'm not a cooking person that much, so I'm not sure. So this is already end of the Penstemon Angustifolia. 2 weeks ago it was pretty, but now it's end. This is a South Sea. Sometimes it's very very common flowers, and after the flowers finishes, it's fluffy. Dandelion type of fluffy stuff comes up, and I try to take it and blow. But this particular flower, you want to yank it, and it's kind of difficult to yank. It's tough to yank it. It's tough to take the branch off. This is a golden banner, Thermopsis. I think this is a much smaller than you can see in the mountain, and sometimes called golden